screen.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for being here on this Sunday afternoon. We're going to kick it off with just a couple introductions of those of us here from the board that are going to be sharing with y'all. My name is Abby. I am the vice chair of our board, and I also lead our ownership and outreach committee. I use she, her pronouns, and I moved to Atlanta going on 5 years ago to work with the Common Market, which is based in East Point. If y'all aren't yet familiar with them, they're a regional food distributor for local and regional farmers. So I moved to the Atlanta area to work with them. While I lived in Atlanta, I worked in East Point, so have been familiar with and been an admirer of East Point for a while, but officially moved to East Point about 1.5 years ago. So as soon as I moved here, while I had been familiar with Market 166 for a while, I joined as an owner once I was a resident of the area, so I could contribute more directly to the co-op's efforts. I think there's a lot of reasons I'm personally excited about what we're fighting for and what we're working towards. For me, I think two of the reasons I guess that come top of mind is having worked in the local food space here for my first few years in the Atlanta area, there are just so many great farmers that I'm excited to hopefully see in a grocery store locally, be able to buy from people that I know and farmers from cities that I recognize. And also, I just think community grocery stores can be such a space for mingling and seeing your neighbors and meeting people who live near you and creating community. So I'm really excited to create that space too and have Market 166 be that space. I will turn it over to Xander.
Whoops, I was muted there. My name is Xander. I am the secretary and interim treasurer of Market 166. I grew up in Michigan, in Southeast Michigan, but I've been in Metro Atlanta now for, I think, almost 8 years. And during that time, I got really interested in the food system and volunteering on small urban farms around the area. With, I think, a lot of the same farmers that Abby is referring to. And that was something that was really inspiring to me to see the work that these people were doing. And at the same time, I became really interested in cooperative organizing and building community-owned economic institutions. And about 4 years ago, I moved to East Point, and shortly afterwards found out about Market 166 and got involved as well. And I will pass it off to Pramil now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pramil. I'm the board chair, and I work on the site search committee and a little bit on business development. And I moved to East Point actually 20 years ago now. And I'm excited about the co-op just because I believe in how empowering it is to create our own local food system that is built and but it's built by local people like my neighbors. So that's very exciting to me. And I think everybody deserves fresh, local, organic food at a price point that is accessible to everybody. So that's what excites me about cooperatives. I'd also like to say that Alice is here from the board, Chelsea, and Deja, who's a very active member. She helps Abby with the ownership and outreach committee. So excited that they're here as well.
Yeah, thanks everyone for being here. All right, so just a quick overview before we dig into some more depth here. What to expect from the next little bit together. We're gonna go over where we've been, so what Market 166 has been up to and been accomplishing since we started a couple years ago. Then we'll talk about where we are. So in this moment, what are we up to? Where are we in the process of opening our store? And then where we're headed. So kind of what to expect going forward. But just as a refresher or a level setter, what is a co-op? So a cooperative is a business model that allows a group of people to combine their resources to meet their common needs. Our vision for Market 166 is to be a sustainable, community-owned grocery store that supports the financial and physical well-being of our neighborhood and neighbors. So we just kind of wanted to ground all of ourselves in what a cooperative is, what this business model is, and then specifically the mission and the vision that Market 166 is hoping to achieve before we dig into things. So I'm going to kick it over to Pramil to talk about where we've been.
So I actually am one of the founders, and back in 2017, somebody posted in Facebook, as usually happens, why don't we have a good community responsive grocery store? And so somebody said that why don't we handle this ourselves as a community rather than waiting for a corporate solution? So people really, really resonated with that. And we started collecting names of everyone who was interested, sent out a community interest survey. And then we saw that this had some legs to it. So in 2018, we elected our first board of directors. We created our name, logo, website, did all of the organizing, bylaws, and incorporating with the state. And then in 2019, we began with our first ownership drive, and we started tabling at events and getting the word out. And we had our first annual ownership meeting, which was very exciting. And we also, in 2020, we redeveloped our website. We created a preliminary feasibility study. And that was a very important step for us. That was to help us see the data of our vision and our goals. Does it match the demographics and the area that we wanted to build a store in? Is it going to be feasible and sustainable? So that all came out with green lights. Sizing and revenue generation was all determined. And so we're going to continue using that data. And we had our second annual owners meeting. Now, of course, this was during the major pandemic, so that was a Zoom meeting. So a little bit of awkwardness, but we made the best of it. And then in 2021, we really decided to push forward with having people understand that a co-op is so much more than just the board doing everything. We wanted to make sure that the owners understand that their participation is vital. And we went ahead and we have committees that the owners could participate in. So whatever skill sets and interests and talents they had, they could contribute to moving Market 166 forward. So the board is really here as a steering, but everybody who's an owner should be doing some of the paddling. And that's how a co-op works. And so we're trying to make sure that that is clear. We had our third annual owners meeting, and then we had our fundraiser that kicked off our solidarity shares, which Xander's going to talk about. And in 2022, we launched our first accessible ownership program. And that is, we're going to talk about some of the other things that we've been doing these first 2 months in 2022.
Great, thanks, Pramil. And I just made a note in the chat, but wanted to remind folks that we'll have a lot of time for Q&A and discussion at the end. So as we're talking through things, feel free to write questions in the chat or just hold them for a little bit from now when we get to have a more informal Q&A. So I am going to take a couple minutes to talk about where we are in the process of opening a store. There's a 3-stage development process for opening a cooperative grocery store. So we'll chat about that generally, and then also specifically where we are in that process before we hear from Xander about where we go from here. So give me 1 second. Okay, so we are at the moment at the very end of stage 1. So just to talk briefly about what stage 1 of 3 is. Stage 1 is called organizing. It's bringing about the organization of the cooperative, kind of some of those beginning stages. So as the slide says here, in this stage, people come together, they recognize a common problem or a need that a food co-op can meet. Throughout the organizing stage, there's a handful of things that happen. First of all, the co-op convenes a core group, which Pramil just talked about. That core group assesses common interests and needs of the community, designates leadership, which we have a board. We build a shared vision, and there's a lot of committing of time and money. We're a fully volunteer-run board that puts a lot of time and care into driving this co-op forward. So again, a lot of, hopefully, as you can tell, we are at the end of stage 1, which is exciting. A lot of what I just went over should sound a lot like what Pramil just talked about. And some of the key milestones that tell co-ops like us when we can move from stage 1 to stage 2 are here on the right side. So we have a seated board, which we do. We're incorporated, which we are with the state of Georgia, and we have met our ownership goal. I want to pause for a minute, and I'll talk a little bit more about this actually, but I do want to say on that last one, something that's exciting is for the key milestones in terms of the membership goal. For us and our community size, that key milestone that gets us to officially pivot from stage 1 to stage 2 is 300 owners. And as of today, we have 290 owners. And so if you are here and you are not yet an owner, I think it's exciting. It's an exciting moment to become an owner because if we have 10 more people join today, for example, then we have officially hit that milestone to pivot to stage 2. I do want to take a moment, though, to just kind of talk about this stage in co-op development. It typically, on average, takes cooperative grocery stores 5 to 7 years from concept to opening their doors. We're about 4 years in now, so I want you all to know that we are on track, and this is totally normal for it to take a number of years. You'll see that finding and securing a location is not a part of stage 1, and that's because we're still organizing and getting our feet under us. The purpose of organizing in this stage is really to demonstrate our viability and to demonstrate that the community wants a cooperative through ownership. And having those owners allows us to make sure that our owners are really driving our site selection, where the store is located and what the store ends up looking like. So we're really serving our community throughout the process. There's a lot of behind the scenes in the organizing stage. Again, if you rush through this, the foundation of what we're building isn't sturdy. Ownership growth is a really, really core part of the organizing phase and has been a huge focus of our cooperative in the first few years here. I think it's also important to note that owners in this early stage are the hardest to get. Shout out to our owners in the room here. I know there's a lot of you here who are owners and have been owners for a while. So I just truly want to thank you all for being early investors in this vision. Owners are hard to get in this stage because there's nothing physical to show you all. You know, asking people to join in this stage is asking you to believe in a vision and believe in something that isn't tangible yet. But as mentioned, owners in this early stage allow us to pivot to our next stage, which I'll get to in just a second. And early owners demonstrate viability when we go to lenders to start securing a site and doing some major capital campaigns and build outs. So to talk about the next stage, which is stage 2, there's 2A and 2B. And just for some background here too, we work really closely with the Food Co-op Initiative, which is a national organization that supports grocery cooperatives like ours. And they're the ones who have taken years and years of co-op development experience and put together this 3-stage process. So stage 2, which we are pivoting into and have just actually begun pivoting into since we knew we were so close. The main focus of stage 2 is that it brings about the business plan, some more of those specifics of our cooperative. And by the end of stage 2, our cooperative will have a location chosen. So some key elements of stage 2 is that you've got an organized group with commitment, interest, and capacity. I think we can look at our board today and see that we have a lot of that. We've got a really diverse group of experiences and people who are putting in a lot of time and energy and skills, as well as some of our core volunteers who are here in the room too. So thanks to y'all. Another key part of stage 2 is assessing market potential and the internal readiness of us as an organization to move forward. So to dive a little bit deeper into that, we have a preliminary feasibility study. And what we are starting to focus on and work towards is getting a pro forma and a business plan by the end of this year. Our actual goal is to have that by September when we have our owners meeting. Having the feasibility study and the pro forma is what will allow us to choose a site. So we're getting close, y'all. And last but definitely not least is at the end of stage 2, we bring about a secured site for our grocery store. And then last but not least, The third stage is once we've got a site, we implement, we construct, and we get ready for opening the store. So stage 3 brings about an open store and, very importantly in co-op world, the satisfaction of our owners. This stage includes pre-construction, so lots of planning and deciding what the store is going to look like and what it's going to carry. This final stage 3 includes the construction and renovation itself, preparing for the opening. So lots of communication and promotion and marketing and making sure people know this is happening. And then very importantly, our co-op has to have a really good first year. So that's looking ahead a little bit, but I just, kind of wanted to forecast the full 3-stage process and reiterate that we're in early stage 2, pivoting into early stage 2. This is a graphic from our preliminary feasibility study, which was done in 2020. And so I just pointed out where we are, which is pivoting from stage 1 into early stage 2, for those of us here that are more visual learners. All right, and now I'm going to pass it over to Xander.
Okay, thank you. And so Abby just gave us an overview of where Market 166 is right now within the roadmap of going from a group of community members with an idea to an actual physical brick and mortar store. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what our next steps are as a board. So first of all, just going back and grounding us again in our vision and what our goal is for this project, and then also talking about how we as a board are approaching the immediate future and what we're trying to do right now over this current year. So our vision is that Market 166 will be a sustainable, community-owned grocery store that supports the financial and physical well-being of our neighborhood and neighbors. And we really value member equity, providing food that's not just healthy, but also convenient and affordable, and making sure that we can be a part of our community members' lives. Providing economic empowerment by creating a closed economic system where we are, or not necessarily closed, but a community-focused economic system where we're trying to support suppliers who are part of our community or in the area and keep money close to home. On that note, supporting local farmers and cooks, and also just providing a place where neighbors can come together and spend time and meet. And what we hope that will look like is, first of all, of course, a grocery store with a full range of products. We'd like to include fresh produce, as well as dairy and meat and dry goods and organic and local options. But we also want to provide a cafe or deli with prepared foods where people can come and hang out and eat, a commercial kitchen space that could be an incubator for small food businesses, again, helping to support local cooks and find a way for them to bring their products to market, as well as a meeting space that we can make available for events for other community organizations. And putting all those bullet points together, we want to build a community-owned food destination where people can come together to buy food, to prepare it, to enjoy the food, and to share it with their friends and family and other community members. And we can go to the next slide. So that's our vision. That's the goal that we're trying to get to. And we're a few years into this process that Abby talked about. It can take a period of up to 7 years to bring a cooperative to fruition. So what I want to talk about next is our goals as a board. We typically have our annual meetings in the fall. So this current board came together towards the end of September. We've been working together for a few months now, and these are our annual goals that we set for this current term. So the first one is we want to start having a positive impact on the local food system, even in our pre-store phase. Obviously, we want to put as much energy as we can into opening a brick and mortar store sooner rather than later, but we're also mindful that that's a long and expensive process, and that there is a lot of struggles with food access in our community that we can find other ways to address sooner. So we are working with other community organizations in Southwest Atlanta to find ways that we can build partnerships and start actually taking part in bringing produce to people even before we have a physical indoor grocery space. And there may be more news on that coming over the next few months. Our second goal is that we want to increase our ownership by 200, which is a huge jump for us from where we were at the beginning of this board term, bringing us to 450. And as it says here, the goal, the reason why we picked that number is that we came into this year most of the way through stage one. We had about 250 out of 300 owners. And this 450 number is another sort of important dividing line in the food co-op initiatives model, where that's something that would help us cross over into stage 2B. So we're setting an ambitious goal where we're hoping to really push our owner growth over this current year and come to the end of the year in a really strong position where we're hoping to have nearly doubled our ownership and be ready to move into the next phase, 2B, which would be about site selection. And then our third goal is also connected to that, and it's something that Abby talked a little bit about, which is putting together a complete pro forma and business plan. And this is something that we're actively really involved in as a board right now. We have our board meetings every 2 weeks, and we have been corresponding with business consultants who have experience in the grocery co-op market specifically, and working towards making a choice on paying someone to start putting together some of these documents for us that we can use. First of all, to start looking at real estate options, to start requesting, putting in grant applications to fund our construction costs, having this really concrete financial plan for how we're going to make this a successful and sustainable grocery business is going to be a huge step towards having a brick and mortar store. And those two goals together, 2 and 3, that we are hoping to really push through in this current year, those two goals are essentially what the FCI calls stage 2A. It's to continue during that stage. We're expected to continue our owner growth and get to 450. And we're expected to get these sort of consulting and business plan documents together. And we are hoping to do that this year, while hopefully starting to have a positive impact on our food system by beginning to do some retail. So that's what we're focused on at the moment. And there's one other initiative that we have launched already, and it kind of ties into our second goal. And we've called it the Solidarity Shares program. So until a couple months ago, a Market 166 share cost $100. That was our fixed price that any new owner who wanted to join the cooperative would pay. And it's that $100 price is really important for us, especially as we're getting started. Paying a consultant to do something like a pro forma costs thousands of dollars. And so we have raised that money over the last 4 years of organizing, and we're starting to spend it now on taking these big steps. And we definitely need owners and community members who are who can contribute what they're comfortably able to. But we also want this cooperative to be for all members of the community at all income levels. And we know that $100 is not necessarily an accessible price to everyone. So we have changed our pricing model starting just in the last month, where we sell shares either at $100 or $20. And we ask that people pay what makes the most sense for them and their families. And on our website, we have some hopefully helpful information on how to approach that. But this is a program that we are launching hopefully to broaden access to what we think is a really important community institution that we want to be available to everyone in Southwest Atlanta.
Great. Thank you so much, Xander. And something just to add on the solidarity share piece is a huge motivator for us for kicking this off is that we heard from a bunch of owners that they saw that affordability was a part of our mission and wanted us to explore offering a lower price share to make ownership accessible to everyone in our community. So I just wanted to reiterate how owner driven this effort really is. So this is kind of our closeout slide here. And we know that some of y'all are involved in different ways. Some of you are just hearing about us. Wherever you are along that spectrum, thanks so much for being here and for joining us today. Some ways that you can get involved and support. First and foremost is, if you're not yet an owner, become an owner today. As you've probably heard throughout this presentation, the co-op model is different from a typical grocery store because it is truly community owned through ownership, and it is community controlled. So once you become an owner, you get to contribute wholly and you get to drive where this co-op goes. Just something to definitely consider as you're pondering investment. And if you're already an owner, again, thank you so much. Think about folks that you know that aren't yet owners, or you could gift an ownership share. We've seen some folks do that for friends or even their employees. Something I do want to mention is that we're really excited about hitting our big ownership goal this month. And so for February 2022 only, if you do become an owner this month, or get a friend to become an owner this month, they'll get a free locally printed Market 166 t-shirt. So if you need it a little more convincing, you'll get some free swag. And then I just wanted to reiterate here that we've got the 2 different pricing options that Xander mentioned, which you'll see about on our ownership page with some additional explainers, and you're welcome to ask us any more questions on that too. Definitely also, how you can support us is just by staying in touch with us. We post on social media every few days. We'll post updates of our board meetings or kind of what we're working on, or other great community events and partners. So stay in touch on social media. We also have a quarterly newsletter that goes out. And if you're not already getting that, you can sign up for that on our website, or again, just let us know here and we can add you manually. Volunteer with us. That's another great way to support. We have off and on volunteer efforts depending on maybe community events we want to attend, or folks that we want to reach and talk about what we're doing. But if you're interested in volunteering, you can always reach out to us. And relatedly, just come to our events. One of our board members, who I think is still here, I can't see everyone, but Alice is from what I hear, really creative at hosting some really fun events. And so Alice is going to be thinking through how we can host events or co-host events to really, create community, which is so much of what this co-op is about before we have a physical store. So thank you all so much for being here today. And I think with that, we can turn it over to some Q&A.